I think we should start with Enneagram.
Okay.
Where do you start with people who don't understand Enneagram?
Well, first of all, I just tell them what it is, right? And the Enneagram is this wonderful ancient personality typing system. It teaches that there are 9 fundamental personality styles in the world, one of which we gravitate toward and adopt in childhood as a way to cope, right? To feel safe and to navigate the new world of relationships. So that's what it is in brief, right? And then normally I'm always sort of talking people off the ledge of the Enneagram because it's so uncannily accurate and in its descriptions of these 9 types that people really get they dive in. They get so excited about it.
Because they see themselves in it.
Oh, right away, right? And to them, it seems like it explains everything, right? And I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I'm like, hey, listen, there's a lot more to life than the Enneagram. So I give them about 6 months of grace period. And after that, I'm like, stop being so frothy mouthed, You're just too, You're
too into it.
It's a wonderful tool, but, life is big.
When were you first acquainted with it?
I was in grad school doing a master's in counseling psychology, and I went up to a retreat center in the mountains of Colorado just to take a break, right? I'm in the library of this retreat center, and I just see this book called The Enneagram on the shelf, and I'm like, well, I ain't got nothing to do. So I went over, I pulled it down, I started reading it, and I couldn't stop. I was like, I'm a grad student in psychology. Why has no one ever talked about this? And I began to do a dive into it for a couple of years. I dabbled after that. And then about 10 years ago, I returned to it and I was like, I'm going in.
Yeah, this is it.
This is
Did
it.
you always know that you could help people with it? Was a book in the front of your mind?
No. I just thought, I've always been a sort of a self-improvement junkie, but also on the hunt for material that I think could really help people to understand who they are and how the world works. I think all of us have an inner architecture, right? And part of the journey of self-discovery is finding out what is the errand upon which I have been sent here, right, to fulfill. And that can be a very circuitous road. And it was for me. I'm a generalist. I have an interest in so many things. And I love it when I can take different disciplines and overlap and see patterns that go in new directions. And I'm like, whoa, that's fantastic, And I love to share it with other people.
Someone has called you the Awakener.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think because it's a passion of mine is to awaken people to really the beauty of who they are. And to awaken them to live true to themselves in the world, right? To be authentically who they are. To see that we live in a universe that's brimming, right? It's enchanted. I really see it that way, And to find their way in it. And to also, it's going to sound kind of strange, I've always been someone that wants to help people understand their suffering. Right? I mean, we all suffer in this life. And what does it mean? And how do we leverage it for some higher good? We have to figure out, in the midst of all the difficulties of life, how to see it in context. Like, what does this mean in the broader story of the world? And how can I leverage what I'm experiencing to become the highest expression of who I am in the world? And when we allow difficulties to carve out space within us, right, it can feel empty for a long time, but it then makes room for your greatest self to emerge.